having a chat to somebody here who's questioning whether GB News speaks to left-wing voices, and we've got one here in the studio. So George Howarth joins me now. He's the Labour MP for Knowsley. He's the longest-serving MP on Merseyside. George, I don't want to make you feel old, but 1986, my goodness me. Tell me, how's Liverpool changed over the years?
In some ways, to the point of being beyond recognition.
Yes.
When I was elected in '86 in a by-election, in my constituency, which was then Knowsley North,
yes,
we had an unemployment rate of over 20%.
Good grief.
It's now around 5%. It came down particularly under the last Labour government. And, you know, that in itself changes everything. And it's similar across the city region.
Yes.
We saw massive progress during the time of the last Labour government in the health service, in education.
Do we attribute any of the progress to Michael Heseltine, or does that annoy you as a Liverpudlian?
No, I wouldn't deny that Michael Heseltine, I was a local councillor during that era, and in a very difficult political situation locally, he did some good things. Just down the road from where we are, the Albert Dock. Yeah,
the renovation of the docks has been extraordinary.
It was an amazing thing to do. And he understood that, you know, cities like this needed to change and they needed help to make that change. But also, I mean, you know, it's important to note that apart from him, if you look back over that period, the Conservative Party have virtually abandoned.
Yes. Is that how you feel? That they've sort of turned their back on Liverpool and the North?
Yeah. I mean, they virtually don't exist.
They'll counteract that and say, no, we've come out with this new Northern Rail plan instead of doing the HS2 leg to Manchester. I mean, are you convinced by that document I was waving at Mark Harper earlier, that they'll put 36 billion into Northern Rail infrastructure and buses?
No, I'm not, because if they can't be relied on to deliver HS2, having spent billions and billions of pounds on it, why would anyone say, oh, well, that's all right now, you've got a new document?
Yeah. So you're not convinced by it, George, clearly?
No.
Let's talk about the Labour Party and where things are at now with Keir Starmer. I mean, there is some criticism that he's not opposing enough. You know, the Conservatives are coming out with climb downs on the climate, they're talking about scrapping HS2, and there are other policies, and actually the Labour leader hasn't really pushed back very heavily against them. He's doing this silent assassin thing where he doesn't say anything and waits for the Tories to implode, but the opposition has got to oppose the government, hasn't it?
Yes, but at the same time, when you're hopefully a government in waiting, you've got to be responsible.
Yes.
And one of the many good things about Keir is he's very responsible. And so
too responsible though? Too safe?
Well, you know, some people might be saying that, but people are looking for a government they can rely on.
Yeah.
A government that will behave responsibly with taxpayers' money. And for us to be saying, yeah, we'll do that. I mean, at the last general election, we had a 100-page manifesto with hundreds of billions of pounds of spending commitments. And even in constituencies like mine, people were saying, well, how are you going to pay for all that?
Yeah, so the constituents themselves are a bit suspicious of massive spending pledges at a time of a cost of living crisis.
And they think you've got to live as a government within your means. And Keir's very conscious of that, and rightly so.
Let's talk about this result up in Rutherglen, because it's significant for Labour, this. I mean, are the SNP basically finished in Scotland if Labour make the same sorts of gains in other seats? 20% swing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I didn't manage to get to Rutherglen for various reasons, but...
Train strikes, probably.
Well, no, it was stuff I had on locally. But I went to Selby, and it was clear there that people thought, do you know what, I've been voting Tory.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah.
I want something different. I want a government with different values. And I think that's happening in Scotland as well.
I get that, although they're not crying out for Starmer in the way they were Blair. He's not a Blair, is he?
No, but Blair was a man of his times.
Yeah.
I think Keir is a man of his times.
Yeah.
Tony, had a particular. I was a big supporter of him.
Yeah,
but he had
know.
a particular style of leadership that was right.
But what you're trying to say, George, is he's got more charisma than Starmer has. And that might be a problem for the Labour.
Well, I mean, if charisma is everything, but it isn't. I think what people are looking for is steadiness, reliability, trustworthiness. And I think Tony had that. And he had other things as well.
You could argue to a point.
Well,
George, final question. I have to ask this on behalf of my stepmother, who I know will be watching this show. Massive Liverpool fan. Should that Liverpool versus Spurs match be replayed because of the VAR catastrophe? I know you're a Liverpool fan as well. George, what's your verdict?
It should.
Yes, it should. Thank you very much, George Howarth. We love a politician who answers a straight question with a straight answer. Thank you very much indeed.